Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our first episode of Living Purposely on Purpose with a guest. I know you guys are so used to me alone being on here and talking with Coach Lin, but Coach Lin has decided that, you know what, living in purpose is something that we need to be able to show in a more realistic way. So I have translated and transitioned into getting some amazing people to share their stories on living in purpose and how does that look, right? So coming to the stage in just a few seconds, I'm going to be enjoying in joining Shelly with me, and she's actually someone that I've known very well. She's from my church. I know her. She's a great woman of God, and she is going to share with us how does living in purpose look when you're dealing with family and children and running your own business and being, a Christian and having your duties in the church and all of these different aspects. So I just want you to kindly introduce my friend, my girl, she's just an amazing woman. And I just can't wait for you guys to get to know her. So I'm going to bring her up right now and she can go ahead and share some good news with us. Hold on.
Hi, Coach Lin.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Hello to your guest. Thank you, Coach Lin, for having me as your guest. I'm really humbled to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy that you said yes, because honestly, I just feel like for you to be the first guest on that, is going to be showcasing, you're gonna blow us away. You have so much to teach us, so much that we can learn, especially, I'm single, and you're doing it all. You're doing it all. You're married, you have children, you have your own job, you have a business, you have so much things that you have your hands in. And how do you balance all of that? So before we get started, because I know we have a few questions that we already agreed on sharing today, but I want you to just introduce yourself, share with the people who are you and who is Shelly.
Okay. So, my name is Shelly Moulton. Um, First of all, I love God. Second of all, I love my family. And that's my order of importance. And of course, I love people. Everything that I do, I just love interacting with people. My husband calls me the friendly one. um, um, what else about me? I'm a Jamaican, and therefore everything that I do, I try to do to the best of my ability. That's in our DNA. Anything that we're doing, and unfortunately, that means whether it's good or bad. Whatever Jamaicans are doing, it has to be well done, and that is something that's in my DNA. That I try to do everything to my best of my abilities.
Big up Jamaicans. Yes,
Also, yes,
go ahead, go ahead. I'm listening.
I am also someone who has transitioned into a second career. In Jamaica, I was a licensed pharmacist and I practiced that for about 10 years. Here, living in the United States, I have transitioned into education, where I am now a certified elementary school grades 1 to 6 teacher certified in New York State.
Wow, impressive. Impressive. I mean, just the fact that you transitioned from a whole field that you were doing for so long into now this new field of teaching and doing all that it takes just to become a teacher, that's impressive on its own, right? So
Yes.
when did you decide to make that transition from being a pharmacist, and why did you decide that teaching was the goal for you?
Right. So a lot of individuals who are not immigrants may not be aware, but usually, as an immigrant, when you come to the United States, your lifestyle it goes down because you have to start over. And when I came here at first, I was not able to work, and so I was a stay-at-home mom with my child while my husband went out. As time progressed, things changed, and my husband is actually the one who noticed when we were living in Mississippi that they were calling for substitute teachers, and he showed the ad to me, and suggested that I go and check it out. I went and I checked it out. The process was pretty simple. They had like a 1 day workshop, and then you were able to start working. And the first day I entered the classroom and started to interact with the students, I felt like, yes, this is for me. This is what I want to do. And so, because my husband was studying, we tended to move a lot over the country. And every state that we went to, I would get a job as a substitute teacher. And till I came to New York, and I settled in at a particular school, which they had me as their building substitute teacher. So I went there every day, even though I was not employed to the school, until the science teacher who I used to work with, she decided that she was not going to come back, and I was offered the position. And there started my career as a science teacher for the school that I'm currently at. And so that's the story of my transition. But as I said, it was just, I felt like I was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I just felt comfortable from day one, interacting with the children, helping them with whatever they needed help with. I just felt like that was my ministry.
Yes, yes. I mean, we need good women like you, that are godly women in the school system, because it's really, you know, I won't say any more than that, but we already know there's so much going on in that
Mhm.
system of education. So when we have women of God in there, it's a blessing,
Definitely,
especially for the
definitely.
students. So how has your faith influenced both your marriage and your work? You know, how has your faith influenced that?
Well, my faith is very important in that because I met my husband at church. Um, we we did not really move in the same circles, but eventually, as time went on and I became older, we became more acquainted, and the relationship changed. And as a man of God, it also means that God is also important to him. So it's not like I'm in this on my own, where it's one sided. So I think that definitely helps because now we're able to support each other. Because even though we say we're Christians, we all have our challenges, and we all have situations that might come up that might feel overwhelming. And sometimes you might feel, is God really with me? Does he care about me? And when you have someone that you can pray with, and also someone that is praying for you, it makes the difference when you can say, you know, I'm feeling scared about this, or and he's there to support me. And it works vice versa. So we complement each other and try to strengthen and encourage each other. So it's very important.
Yeah.
For me at least, I think it's very important that we're on the same page where it comes to God and where he fits into our lives.
Amen. I definitely agree with that. I feel like when you the Bible says, can two walk together unless they agree?
Mhm.
So if I'm in one faith and I believe in God, and he's over there not believing in the same thing that I believe in, and he's worshiping something different than I am, then how can we actually agree on anything? Because that's the foundation, right? God and our belief system that leads us to how we perform in life, how we think, our
Mhm.
values and all of those different things. So I absolutely agree with you on that. And,
Mhm.
it's a blessing to find someone that's also in your faith, you know.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely. It really is a blessing.
Amen. So I wanted to, I know that you're also an entrepreneur. So, I mean, this lady has so many hats. Can I tell you? She's wife, mom, and then on top of that, she's also an entrepreneur, along with doing her own ministry as a teacher. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that form of what you do, and how does that align with you living in purpose?
Right. So it sounds overwhelming, and sometimes it does feel overwhelming. Does it mean that you're doing everything um, to the best of your ability at all times, or that everything is prioritized? No, I don't think that's humanly possible. So comes into play time management. It comes into play prioritizing certain things at certain times, depending on what is happening. And it also uh, brings in a village. You can't do this alone. And
Mm,
I'm sure for anyone that has listened to ladies who are obviously way more successful than I am, they will tell you that they need a village,
yeah.
right? You need that support. You need someone you can call on. My husband is extremely supportive. He's actually the one that pushes me to do some of the things that I would not necessarily have the courage to do on my own, right? And when I'm in that situation, he never leaves me alone, right? When I was doing my master's, I did my master's during the pandemic, and we were both here at home teaching, and whatever he needed to do to allow me time to study and do my lessons, as well as still fulfill my obligation to my students who I'm teaching in terms of lesson planning, he was there for me. So you definitely need that village. My daughter and I used to study together. We'd get on Zoom,
That.
because when I started my master, she actually had started college. So she was a freshman in college, and I was back with my master's. And so we'd get on Zoom together. And of course, we're doing totally different subjects, but we're just there spending time together, keep encouraging each other through this process of doing this work, and helping each other in whatever way that we needed to. So again, it takes a village. In terms of our business, we have been able to leverage the a program that the city has where they provide interns from high school and college to put them in certain businesses to help expose them to the world, the work world, and help prepare them for that transition. And we have been able to leverage that resource so that we do have some help in that area where we can direct our interns to do certain things. And so we have more hands on deck in that regard. And again, it's time management. It's also just sometimes you just have to step back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to step back from everything. It may not be a full-blown vacation, but for me it might mean going to the gym, going for a walk, um, going to eat out, going to sleep. you
Yeah.
know Whatever it is that you need to regroup and recharge, you have to know yourself and know, I'm at that edge where I might go crazy if I try to do all of these things, and I just need to step back a little. Um,
So,
maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's you need to go spend some time with God. Maybe you need to
yeah.
pray, right? Whatever it is that you need, sometimes you just have to know you have to step back. And especially as women, I had to learn that I can't do everything in the home. You just can't. Most women would tell you, housework is never done, right? The
Never.
moment you finish laundry, there's more dirty clothes. The moment you wash the dishes, there are more dishes. The moment you cook, you eat the food, you need to cook again,
Again.
right?
Yes.
So again, you just have to take that deep breath and say, okay, I need to step back and I need a breather before I attack whatever it is that you need to attack. And many people can relate to, and I've had it happen, trying to do a quote unquote a simple task that just is taking you an extremely long time. And it's because you're exhausted. And
Yes.
you go to rest and you get up, and within a few seconds, minutes, that same problem is solved because you just needed to rest. You just needed to step away for a few minutes. So we have to know ourselves, know our limits,
Yes.
and yes,
Self-awareness.
definitely. And we
Yes.
also, Coach Lin, we cannot be in competition with others,
Absolutely not.
right? Because when you're measuring yourself against someone who you do not know fully their resources, their knowledge, their experience, and to then say, oh, but they're doing this, I'm not doing enough.
Yes.
And we don't really know what's happening behind closed
No,
doors. We don't know what kind of team they have, right?
that's
When
right.
we see celebrities step on the red carpet, they had a team behind them. They had a stylist, a hair person, a makeup person, someone for their speech, someone to help them with their pose. There's a
Yeah,
whole team, but we only see this one person beautifully attired, looking so gorgeous, and they didn't do it on their own. So we can use others to motivate us, but we have to be careful of this constant comparison and trying to measure up to others who may have more support than we have.
I agree. I agree. When we're looking at other people, first of all, that's distracting and it
Hmm.
doesn't benefit us. It doesn't push us to where we need to go. You got to focus on the race that you're on because
Hmm.
if you're focused on someone, if a runner is running and he's focused on who's next to him, what happens? He slows down.
Hmm.
So you're not able to even be propelled where you need to
Right,
go if you're
right.
focused on other people.
Hmm.
So absolutely. What a nugget. So I wanted to ask you, I know that you do several things, right? And being an entrepreneur is one of them. First, but let me ask you, what type of entrepreneur are you? Are you business? Are you education? Like what is it that you're actually doing? What is your second business? What is your business?
Okay, so our business is centered around music. Sorry, centered around music. My husband is actually a singer songwriter. His
Amen.
stage name is Desmond the Songwriter.
Lovely.
And he, because of coming to America, you see where you kind of have a more uniqueness leaning towards your Jamaican-ness. So he leaned in more into reggae coming into America. So
Mm-hmm.
his music is primarily reggae, but it has its own touch in terms of the lyrics. We're very keen on the lyrics that we
Yes.
want to uplift. Our songs may not be saying God, 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 but what is interesting is that everyone that listens to it gets that sense that he is a Christian.
Yeah.
And so he tries to
Yes.
bring hope and encouragement and social commentary as well in our music. So our business is centered around us being an independent record label where we are promoting his music. He currently has two albums released. One is Happiness is Priceless, and that is centered around, it's a commentary on money and how money on its own merit does not bring you happiness, right?
That's right.
And
Yes.
the struggles that people go through when they don't have a certain amount of money to afford them certain things. And then we have another album called Another Guest Coming, which is a tribute to Jamaica, and the songs speak to Jamaica and the country that we love and certain aspects of the country. And lastly, we have a single called Dock My Pay. Uh, all our songs are either from personal experience or from experiences of those that we know and love.
I
So
love
as you
that.
Dock My Pay, a lot of people can relate and have related to that song. It's about, the system being unfair to you and taking away your money for sometimes frivolous reasons. And
Yes.
yes, so for those who are interested in checking him out, he's on all the music platforms. It's Desmond the Songwriter. We also have press vinyls for Another Guest Coming that are available for sale. So that's primarily what we do. We just promote his music um, and bring awareness to those who can relate to it and who are willing to share it to spread the message.
I love that. I love that because you're not going to get everyone with the Christian song, you know.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
if you have something that, can make someone understand the meaning behind the love of God
Mm-hmm.
that can resonate with so much people,
Mm-hmm.
and lyrics is so important because when I think of all the other songs that are out right now, and you think about their lyrics and how destructive it is
Mm-hmm.
to, to even women, you
Mm-hmm.
know, how it profanes and it's just so, you know, can I say demonic a lot of the times that it's great to have artists out there that recognize that the word and how powerful that is can resonate with so much other people and get them here, you know. So
That's
I love that. Awesome. And you guys go check that out. She told you Desmond the songwriter. Go look him up. He has some great music on there. Actually checked him out myself and did a follow. So go ahead and follow as well. Okay. He's right here on YouTube. So check him out. So I know that you also is a part of your church and you do a lot of things there as well. How do you manage all, like you said, I know you said it's a village, but how do you manage I mean, being a secretary of a church is a lot. That's a lot behind the scenes that goes on. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us how you put it all together and not get overwhelmed.
well, for being a secretary, actually, in everything, there are pros and cons, right? And the pandemic brought a lot of loss to the world, to America, and to our church.
Yes.
However, it did open the door to better use of technology. And so what happened was that I had to go previously before the pandemic, I would go into the office like 3 days per week and work physically from the office. But when the pandemic came, all of that was shut down. And so most of my work now transitioned to being virtual. And there is a lot that I can do virtual without stepping into the church building. So that made it a lot easier for me in terms of that ability to do a lot of stuff virtually and for the mindset of our church members to be more open to that. I still face a lot of challenges in that regard where folks are still reluctant to make use of sending an email to make a request, and rather they wait until they see you in person. That's when they remember what they need. So I still do face that challenge. Um, it's more of a it's not so much heavy on task, I would say, as heavy on knowing how to deal with people.
Yes.
And I pride myself, especially being the church secretary, I am many times the first person that people interact with.
This is true.
So I have to do my best, regardless of whatever situation I'm in, to maintain a calm demeanor and be as helpful as I can. And one of the things that I also try to do, I am big on fairness so that I do not want to come across as I am being um, given favoritism to a certain department or a certain individual or a certain family. I represent the church. I'm working for
As
the
a whole.
church, right? So I
Yes.
try to treat everyone with respect, and I try to deliver each person's respect with request with urgency, regardless of who they are. And as I said, it's super important because I am the face of the church for a lot of persons. They interact with me when they call to request a date for their wedding, to come to rehearse for their weddings, when they have a death in the family, when people are very emotional, as you can imagine, losing someone many times. It's the first time they're planning a funeral,
Yeah.
so it's uncharted waters for them. And you have to be able I don't work alone in that regard. I'm working with the pastor, the elders, and we have a large team, our caterers, our audiovisual team. Again, as I said, it's a village.
Yeah.
So when you see things come together, it's not one person. We're
Yeah.
working together to make the church as efficient as possible so that we can focus on worship and not worry about the little details. And
Yeah.
I recall, just to share how a lot of times people don't even understand what we're doing. I recall one Sabbath, we worship on Saturday. For those of your guests who don't know, we're Seventh-day Adventists, so we worship on Sabbath. And I
Yes.
recall this particular Sabbath, no, it was the Friday before, someone called, wanted me to prep things for a baby dedication. And I was explaining to the individual all the things that were involved, that it's not as simple as just seeing us go up there and that's it. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. I said, yes, this is what we do behind the scenes, but we do it so well. You don't know that all of these wheels are turning behind the scenes. So,
Yes.
um, again, it's your
Well,
your mission to represent God. I'm representing God. I'm representing the church, and I have support system. If I need to go and get something, my husband is there with me to go to the post office to pick up something for me. So I do get help. Our Bible worker is very helpful. He collected stuff for me from the our book center. So again, in everything that you're doing, you have to have some support. I'm not superwoman. I'm not
right.
doing all of this on my own. I'm not going to claim to be doing it on my own. I have people I can call on. My church clerk and I work closely together. I can call on her to help me. She can call on me to help her. We know our duties, but we know when we are able to work together to support each other. So, in everything, it takes a village.
Yes, it does. I remember the first time I actually met you at church. I remember when you started. I remember the very first Sabbath that you started, and they introduced you as the new secretary. And I was like, she's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I did. I remember 'cause this was like a while ago. This was a few years ago. And I remember it so clearly because your spirit was so sweet. Like I remember because, you just had a calmness, you had a sweetness about you, had just a I don't know how to explain it, Shelly. But from that day, I don't know if you've noticed, I've always kept close to you, always
Yes,
wanted to hug you and you just, I don't know what it was. But from that very first day that you started, I saw something special in you. I
thank
did.
you. That's the work of God. That's the
Amen.
work of God. When we allow Him to lead us, and it's also it's I think um I had a pastor once that put it in words for me. I think it's coming from a place of trauma as well. Um my mother uh gave me up. She left me with my dad. So eventually I got to know her, but I never had a close relationship with her. And at this point in my life, it's obvious that she doesn't want to have a relationship with me. And so I think it comes from a place of trauma where I guess having that happen to me, I never want anyone to feel that way. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's conscious or unconscious, but I think that's where it's coming from. A lot of um what do you call it, organizations come from a place of trauma. The Special Olympics came from a place of trauma where the person that started it, her child, had special needs. And so she created, I don't remember her name, I think she was the wife of a president or someone
Mhm.
in the political arena here in the US that started
Mhm.
the Special Olympics. When you think about autism support, any type of support that you think of, it comes from personal trauma and experience that others have had and want to help others through it. So,
I was gonna say that for those of you who don't know, I actually wrote a book. It's called I forget it now. How can I forget my book name? It's called, oh God. What is the name of my book? That's crazy. Anyway, it talks about how when you're in pain, how
Mhm.
pain can actually propel you into your purpose,
Yes.
because that's how come purpose has become so much that resonates with me, because I know that the trauma that I went through as a child, the things
Mhm.
that occurred in my life that, you know, I saw how it took me away from where God really wanted to bring me. And that's a part of the devil's work. You know, he wants to distract us, to put us on in places and things that is not where God has called us to be, so that we can forfeit, you know,
Mhm.
the gifts that God has bestowed upon us, and the life that he desires for us to have. Because if we have that life, if we walk in purpose, we are going to be that light that shines to others so that they can see him ultimately, you know.
Right.
So the devil had thrown me onto different tracks, and because of those different tracks, I incurred so much trauma, so much pain, and those trauma and pain brought me to where I am today, which is why I am so focused on not only, you know, my dreams and goals, but how I can use those dreams and goals to help others as
Yes,
well. Yeah, Pieces
definitely.
of Me. That's the name
Definitely.
of my book. Pieces of Me, how I grew through my childhood trauma and turned my pain into purpose. Yeah.
Right.
So,
And it was a good read. I did read it. I bought it
thank
and I
you.
read it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You need to go drop a review on Amazon, please. Thank you. Okay, so the next one I wanted to ask you what was um can you share a bit about your journey into becoming a teacher and becoming a wife, and how those things actually drives you in this part of your life? Like, how does those things influence you and drives you in this place of where you at now?
Mhm. Well, in terms of being a wife, um, I don't think much has changed. We are now empty nesters. Our daughter is in her final semester of her studies. And so she has been, out of the house for 5 years. The beautiful thing is that we had a friendship before. We had a friendship before marriage, and we were married for 6 years before our daughter came along. That's another story within itself because we did face some challenges. It's not that we wanted to wait 6 years, but that's the time that the Lord had us wait. And we have one child who is a blessing from God. You know,
Amazing.
I call her my miracle child.
She's
And
amazing.
and
I love her.
so that friendship that we had before we got married during that 6 years has kept us, right? So her leaving home is not, of course, we miss her. She's our child. She's been with us for 17, 18 years before she went off to college. She's our child. We're going to miss her, but we do have a life. We do things together. We are still close, and so our marriage still works. And we we are not without challenges, but we
Yes,
are willing, through the grace of God, to work on whatever challenges that we're facing and still maintain a strong connection with each other. In
I
terms
love
of,
that. You know why? Because a lot of people are in marriages, and what's keeping that marriage together is the children,
mhm,
because the children distract them from their own relationship, that
mhm,
maybe there's parts that's not fully working, but because the children are around and we have that to distract us. But once the children leave, then they realize they have nothing in common. There's nothing that's fully holding this marriage together. So oftentimes what happens is when the children are grown, you'll see the parents are now, you know, leaving or dipping out or doing other things or just completely divorcing because
right,
of that. I've seen
right,
so many marriages that have ended, and I had a few friends like they were surprised like why is my mom is like in her 60s and she's just getting a divorce. Why? These
Mhm,
things happen. So it's great that you said that. That's so true.
mhm. In terms of education, what drives me, the I remember a few months ago, someone said to me, and it's a statement that we hear every generation, this generation is a lost generation.
Mm,
And I said, no, this generation is no more lost than any other generation. It's
yes.
just stuff that we like to say. I don't
Right.
know why. The children are not lost. Are the children facing challenges? Yes. Did we face challenges? Yes. Did our parents face challenges and all the generations before us? Yes, they did. The challenges were different, right? And we live in a world of sin where we always have the choice between good and evil. That choice is always there. Um, the smartphone, the social media did not bring about evil. Evil was always in the world from day one. As a Christian lady, Coach Lin, you're aware of that, right?
Ag- Yeah.
That
Yes.
good and bad is a struggle that's been going on. And I see in at least the children that I work with at my school and the children at church, I see a lot of beautiful individuals coming up, right? A lot of them just need guidance, they need support. And especially when the home is not a Christian home and the parents are sometimes, many times, not grown up themselves, right? These were children having children.
Yeah.
It is not the children's fault that they don't have the concrete support that the base that they should have been given, right? And so I feel like that is part of my purpose. I'm not just teaching them about science, and my students will tell you I will stop a science class to give a life lesson
Yes.
in a heartbeat. In
Yes.
a heartbeat,
I love
right?
that.
I will stop a science class to give a life lesson because a lot of them are not being exposed to it, right? And I'm also big on, then of course, there are limitations. I can't be talking about God, but when I introduce myself to my students in my PowerPoint, they know that I go to church. They know that that is a part of my life, right? One day, one student said to me, um, I think she said, "Are you always at church? Or why are you always talking about church?" Because so they know, right? And apart from that, I want them to understand that they have to balance their life, right?
Mm,
So there are
yeah.
some students that need motivation to improve their academic performance, or they need motivation and guidance to improve their social skills and
Yes.
awareness and their
Yes.
behavioral patterns and how what choices they make. And then I have students that I have to tell them to take a step back. You are too high strung. What the way you're approaching your academics is not sustainable, because I have students who have ambitions to be doctors.
Yeah.
And while I'm not a physician, I am quite aware of all the years and steps that are involved. And I have to say to them, you have to maintain a balance. This studying and not sleeping enough, it's not sustainable. You are just in elementary school, you're just in eighth grade, you haven't done high school, you haven't done college, you haven't started the doctoral path. So for you to not be sleeping, not eating well, not taking care of yourself, it's not sustainable. So that's the kind of approach I try to take, where I try to give them a holistic approach to life, you know, to
Yeah.
the fact that it's not all about you. You want to be nice to people, and I mentioned the fact that I don't just propel them to go work for someone. I use the word entrepreneur as well. I tell
Yes.
them, if you start your own business, you need to be respectful to others, because people will not want to work for you if you're not respectful to them. right? So don't feel that because it's my business, I can treat people any way that I like and they're just going to stick around. They might for the few bucks, but after a while they're going to leave because people are not just looking for money, they're looking for somewhere where they feel like they're respected, their input is valued, and their contribution is respected and valued. So that's the approach I take to education. As I said, of course, I can't tell them about God, and but I create a safe space. I remember a few years ago, our former principal had a medical episode, and we had to call the ambulance. And when I took, it was actually during an assembly. So when I took my class back, one of the students came to me and she was like, Miss Moulton, can we pray for him? And I said, sure. And I said, class, one of your classmates would like to pray. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to. But if you want to, she's going to lead us out in prayer. And she prayed. And this is why I said, the generation is not lost. They are
Yes.
not lost. They are not lost. They have challenges like everyone else had, like we have as adults, because some of us are addicted to social media, just like the children, right? So they face their challenges just like anyone else. And we just have to, for those of us who interact with them, try to be a good guide for them. And those of us who are not able to interact with them as a whole, pray for them and lift them up in prayer. And where you can help the parents, you help the parents. Because it's just a lot happening. As they say, no, life is life in, right? Life is life in, and some people are going through a hard time. And we just need to support each other as best as
That's true.
possible.
That's true. I appreciate you sharing all of that. I think those everything that you shared is so important for us to understand and to know. So I appreciate that. So I guess I have just two more questions. I'm gonna let you go. But before you leave, I wanted to ask you, are there any challenges that you might have faced, you know, transitioning from your life in Jamaica to here, your transition from pharmaceutical pharmacist to teaching? Like, I want you to share because we know life is not a bed of roses, and
Mhm.
I would be remiss if I let you go without sharing to the audience how to deal with those challenges when they come up, for just to share those parts, because we can't just always share the good stuff. We have to share what might have been those challenges that you faced that you can share now, how you overcame that. And, maybe the audience can glean something from that as well.
Okay, definitely. So, Coach Lin, I think I did mention this before that as immigrants, and anyone in your audience that's listening that is an immigrant will understand that your lifestyle changes when you come here. Uh, America as a whole does not really respect whatever experience and education you come with, right? And it's sort of like hazing where you have to start over. No question about that. So I would say living in Jamaica, I lived with my parents and then transitioned into my marital home with my husband. We were both professionals, and we also transitioned into a business. We had a successful music store where we sold instruments. We had music classes. We had teachers that we employed, and so we were very successful. And at that point, just to give an example, you talk about what your lifestyle was. When I would go to the supermarket, I would buy whatever my heart desired. I never looked at cost. At that point in time, I did not know what a loaf of bread cost. I did not know what a gallon of milk cost. And when I got to the checkout, I gave them my credit card. I swiped it, went about my business. When the bill came, I paid it in full. Right? That's the level of comfort that we had. Right? Coming here, my husband came here to further his studies in music. So he came here as a student. All right. And we all know the challenges that's going to come with that. And so for the first couple of years, he never had a full blown career in terms of a salaried job, right? And so we spent many of the years with him being in school. And to tell you the truth, sometimes we sit and we think and we said, how did we pay the rent?
Mm.
We don't know, but the rent was always paid by the grace
Amen.
of God.
Yes.
And whatever we had to do, as long as it was legal, we did it. If it meant, um, I think at one point we were doing like delivery of phone books. They were still doing phone books at the time. We were delivering phone books. He has delivered newspapers. Um, but he has worked in his as a in the church as a musical director. So he has had those kinds of jobs. And I have done organization for people, assistant. You just do what you have to do to to get through, right?
I love
At
it.
one point when he was doing his master's, I was doing my undergrad. So we were
Yeah.
both in school at the same time. Um, God has been so good to me. I was a
I love it.
uh, what was the term? Not office assistant. I can't remember the correct term right now, but I worked in one of the offices at Brooklyn College where I was a student. And so my job was part time. You can work up to 20 hours per week. And while there, I gained some great friends, both those who were in the office and professors alike. And they helped me with melody. So if I had a class and Desmond had a class, I could leave melody with them in the office, go to class. Desmond would pick up melody when his class is finished. So she was always, we know she was safe. I
Yeah.
had a particular friend that I'm always someone who is cooking my lunch. I have my snacks and stuff. But if for some reason Melody does not have something to eat, he would go and buy food for her and make sure that she's not hungry. That's the level of support that I had to get through my undergrad and for
What a
Desmond to
blessing.
do his master's. The professors were also very open. We were able to take her to class, which is probably why she knew what college was about because she went to undergrad and graduate classes. The professors knew her, they loved her, they engaged her in class. And so all of that helped to make things easier. But like every immigrant knows a story, you know.
Yes.
When you come to America, your living conditions change, your income is decreased, people view you a certain way, people underestimate your abilities, um, and the list goes on. But again, like all other immigrants, over time, you rise, you become successful, things change, and hopefully you're able to help others, um, and break that stigma of America is this bed of roses. You know, it's a balancing act trying to tell people who are still in Jamaica that though, because I think some people might think, oh, you're up here and you're doing well, so you don't want others to come. But then when you don't tell them the truth and they get here, they're like, nobody told me it was like this, you know. But
Yeah.
if
I go ahead.
if,
I'm
if
so
it's
appreciative of all
something
of
that
this.
yeah, if it's something that you really want, you have to understand that it's not going to be easy. It's
Nothing
not going to
is.
be easy. Yeah. It's a lot of challenges. But if this is where you feel that you can achieve your goals and where God is calling you to be, come. I'm not going to tell you not to come, but just be aware that it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's not like coming on, even if you've been here on vacation, it's not the same. Being on vacation here is totally different from living here, from working here, from trying to get ahead when your qualifications that you came with are not recognized and you have to go back to school and start from scratch.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but again, by the grace of God, we made it. Again, through encouraging each other.
Yeah.
I was never alone. We were here as a family, and
Mm.
we in terms of our child, we were very honest with our child as to what is happening. So I never faced like going to the supermarket any demand for certain things because I told her, look, this is the situation, this is the budget. Depending on the circumstances, I will say you can get something for this amount and she will get that. And she never cried for anything. She never threw a tantrum and she understood the situation. And as things improved, she was able to get more of what she desired with ease because things got better. But
Yes.
yes.
I appreciate so much about what you shared because I think a lot of people sometimes don't see or hear that perspective from the immigrant perspective. As you know, I mean, like we have so much stuff going on right now in this world as far as
Mhm.
how people view immigrants.
Mhm.
And it's so unfair because this world was, this United States of America was built on immigrants, you
Mhm.
know, now we've gotten to a point where we shun the immigrant and we make the immigrant feel unwelcome instead of trying to see how, you know, how we can help, because there had to be someone that helped us when we were in the same position as an immigrant, whether it's your grandparent or your great grandparent. At some
Mhm.
point, someone came over here as an immigrant. So I definitely appreciate everything you just said. So last two questions is in your journey, what's one lesson or experience that has had a lasting impact on your purpose?
Mm. I guess I would have to say my Christianity. My belief in God drives me. And actually, there's a song by Ziggy Marley. It's called Love is My Religion. And even though I'm a Seventh day Adventist, I believe in that. I believe that love is my religion. That's what God has called me to do, to love myself, love Him, and love others. And so I try to make that be my driving force for my purpose. It's not easy all the time because, especially in the church setting, church is not a place where everyone that's there is perfect, right? We are all imperfect beings. We're all going through this life of, as I said, the fight between good and evil. And sometimes evil wins over even those of us in the church. And so sometimes it can be a challenge in terms of how people relate to you, even if you have not done anything to them and you just see them change on you. And
Mhm.
at that point, you really have to try and let love prevail. And love, love and the grace of God is what carries me through to deal with individuals, even when they have wronged me, when they have been hurtful to me or my family, and to still be able to commune with them, to
Yeah.
laugh with them. It's not me because
Yeah.
if it was me, it would not be pretty. But
The
it's
grace of God that lives in you.
the grace of God that I ask Him to enter me and to guide me and lead me into being someone that, whether I say the word God or not, whether I say the word Christian or not, they can somehow see Him in me,
Yes. Yes.
and that I can be a witness, to others that this is what God can offer you, because He has offered me peace. I used to be someone who worries a lot, talking about sleepless nights, can't sleep because I'm so worried, right? And over time, God has proved Himself to me. He has provided for my family so much, especially here being in America. I already shared, the challenges. And sometimes I wonder if He brought us here to make me a better Christian, because life was so easy for me back in Jamaica, right? Life was so easy. I didn't grow up rich, but I didn't grow up poor. I didn't grow up in poverty, right? And my father made sure I got an education. And so, um, very much like anywhere else in the world, education tends to put you on a path to success and a change in the lifestyle that you can have.
Yeah.
So, getting that pharmacy qualification put me at a certain professional level in Jamaica and a certain earning power that enabled me to live a certain lifestyle that didn't have me depending on God for certain basic necessities, if you understand what I'm saying,
I do.
because certain basic things were already provided for. But coming here, now you had to depend on God more in terms of meeting your grocery needs, meeting your rent, meeting your MTA Metro card for the week, all of those things that you need to get around and to just survive and be independent as an adult. So yes, definitely, just God
Yes.
living
He's
in
that
me.
lasting, he's that lasting impact for you in
Mhm.
regards to your purpose. Ah, beautiful. So I guess the final question that I would have is for listeners who want to bring more purpose to their lives, what is one practical step that you can share with them that they can actually take today in order to do that?
Ah, Coach Lin, you're asking a very hard question. I don't know if I can give one practical thing. I think I have more of probably one or two points.
Okay,
So,
that's
first
fine.
of all, I would say, of course, put God first in everything that you're doing and try your best to maintain a prayer life. Um, Sometimes it does get hard, but even if you stop for a while, start it back up. You know, he's not a resentful God that's going to be, like some friends, oh, you didn't call me. And so I don't want to speak to you because you haven't called me in ages. He's not like that. So while we should strive for a daily connection, if ever we fall off, just pick it up back again. He's always there, always ready to listen. So I would say that's the first thing, put God first. And from there, trust the process. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, you have to trust the process. There's no such thing as overnight success. All the celebrities and the successful people that we see, they can tell you their journey. Everyone has a story, right? You have a story. For you to get to this podcast, you did mention it, you have a story. You had to go through certain things. And so, no matter how glamorous and beautiful we look and how we speak now, we all had to go through those stages of growth to get to where we are. So, I would say trust the process, keep focus, don't be afraid to try new things, step out of your comfort zone because that's the only way you're going to grow and
Yes.
build a village. Because I'm saying this, I'm not able to do these things all the time on my own.
Yes.
I have to be reminded by others, whether it's my husband, whether it's my daughter, whether it's a sermon from the pastor at church, whether it's a song that you're listening to, right? Nobody has all the answers, and we're not always doing the right things all the time, but just stay focused. Don't give up. Trust the process. Put God first. That's my single advice.
Listen, I think those might not have been, I think those are actually very practical, because everything that you said is the things that I actually went through in order to not only find my purpose but to continue to live in purpose. And
Mhm.
when you say put God first, that was literally the top of that in what brought me to where I am today, living in purpose. So I appreciate the advice. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate everything that you shared with us today. I think the audience will definitely get a greater sense of what that means to live in purpose, because we see the practicality of everything that you shared today. And how do we know that we're living in purpose? When we feel aligned with the things that we're doing. And I feel like you shared that a lot with how you met your husband, with how you did your entrepreneur as this musical business that you guys have. The fact that you guys are aligned in that brings purpose. The fact that you're sharing that, that you, when you started teaching, that brought you a sense of peace, a sense of calm. You felt like you belonged. I think all of those things are what makes us understand that we are living in purpose. And you've shared it today, and you've kept God as your supreme, authority. And by doing so, he has led you to where you are today. So we thank God for you. We thank God that you came on and shared your story. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so
Thank,
much for being here.
thank you for having me. And just one last thing, sometimes we don't think that we are important enough or successful enough to share our story. So if this brings any comfort, guidance, blessing to anyone, I hope it does, and I thank God if it does. And just know that wherever you are, whatever stage you are at in life, you can motivate someone by sharing your story. We all have a story to tell, and we are all coming from something, and point A to point B, and we have something to share that can help someone else. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And before you go, if someone wanted to reach out to you, say they're like, you know what, I love your husband's songs. Maybe I'm interested in being an artist. How can they get in touch with you?
My email is Shelly. My name is spelled there on the screen, SHELLY at VALUMUZIK.com. Shelly at valuemusic.com.
Love it. Love it. You guys heard it here first. If you want to reach out, say hi, tell her how much her story resonated with you or helped you along your own journey, or just wanted to connect on a musical level, go ahead and use that email and go ahead and do so. All right. Thank you so much, Shelly. I appreciate you being on, and I'll see you at church on Sabbath.
Okay. Thank you so much, Coach Lin. Bye.
Bye. So we are going to be just moving forward with the conversation, and just say thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a pleasure. I hope you guys got something from it and it resonated with you on some level. And here is my contact if you guys wanted to reach out to me for whatever reason. If you see that you're living in purpose and this seems to be something that you feel like you wanted to share your story, go ahead and reach out to me on any of these platforms, or you can always email me as well. Living purposely on purpose at Gmail, and or just reach out to me, send me a DM in one of my inbox. I'm on Instagram as Inner Healing Life LLC, as well as I'm on YouTube as Coach Lin. You can always reach out to me. I have some few links in my bio on YouTube that you can send me a message or drop me an email or something. I'd love to see if you guys, I know that there's many of us out there that's living in purpose, and I want to get you guys on here. I want to get you guys telling your story, sharing what you have to offer, to other people, because we're a source of helping others on this platform, and that's what we're about. So thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right. You have a good one, and keep living in purpose.